So by the introduction, you know that we are going to look at several different paintings, and this one behind me. This is actually after I made some marks on it. Is it finished? I'm going to let it sit for a while. I'm getting ready to go to my yearly mammogram, which if you're my age, you know sometimes it's a ordeal when you go. So I'm ready for that, but I wanted to pop in here and just tell you about today's video. And you're going to see several paintings. You're going to see me do some mixed media and different thoughts behind why I do what I do. If you're new here, I'm an abstract artist. I'm a mixed media artist, and I do videos sometimes from blank canvas through a finished painting. Sometimes I just do a studio chat and just talk about different things that I put in my painting. And I do assorted things on this channel. If you're returning, thank you so much. I have really enjoyed the comments by so many of you. I've gotten to know some of you, and several more have joined the membership group, where we're going to dive right in. In fact, when I get back after I post this video, I'm going to dive right into the first one that should air about September 1st or around there. But we're going to jump into the different elements of abstract art and what I know, everything I know about certain topics like composition, color, texture, taking risks. A big one to me is finding your voice. And that to me is the crux of a lot of things, that and value. Composition is big. A lot of people think that composition is the biggest thing, but that kind of comes with some of these others. But that's going to come down the road. But those that are just part of my YouTube family, I love you, and I just am enjoying getting to know some of you and your stories and your hellos to my dad. And anyway, without further ado, let's jump into this video, and I hope that this helps you take some risks and not to be afraid, because all this is a part of learning your journey, what makes up your particular voice as an abstract artist. You'll see this painting, oh my goodness, my hair. You'll see this painting before it gets to this stage, and you might like that painting, but the painting has got to be my voice. And when my collectors see my artwork, then they need to see the things that make up me. And it's not so much that, it's more, when a painting is finished for me, it's got to be who I am. It's got to be my voice. It's got to be my marks. And it's not finished to me until that happens. So we'll talk more about that. And you'll see some actual examples of the collage papers I do and how they look in different pieces of artwork. It all goes into the composition. It all goes into you as an artist, your marks, what makes up the things that excite you, and ultimately an end to your painting. Whether your painting is for you, for your home, or whether you are entering a journey down the path of a professional artist where you want to sell your art, it's all together. It's your artwork. So let's get started, and I hope you enjoy this. Leave me a comment down below which painting that you tend to like the best, and if you're going to try any of the techniques. I put some links below of some of the things that I use if you're going to try any of them. So many of you bought some things from my Amazon store, and it's not that you're buying from my Amazon store, it's just it's a place I put all the things that I use, because I get so many questions on where did you find that. And I do find a lot on Amazon. So let's get started. I hope you enjoy it, and let's just get going. I'll stop talking about now. Good morning. I thought I would just share with you kind of what I'm doing this week. One, I want to do some mixed media papers for you because I'm getting a little bit low on some of what I have, but I wanted to kind of just show you. This is a canvas that I painted with like the titanium white, some Titan buff, and then I did my markings on here. Not a lot, it's kind of minimal. And I have a couple palette knife swatches of white paint. And I've been putting this piece of mixed media. It's not, it's like $15, $16 for an entire sheet. It's wooden. But it's become a part of my signature for a while. And I don't mind spending that kind of money if it's become a part of something that I'm putting in my art continually. So I thought about putting this in here, adhering it, and I would do it with the gloss gel. And then I found some paper, and here's a cute little, it talks about wood sorrel. So it's kind of perfect. I don't know, that may end up being covered up, it may not, but let me get my gloss gel. Let me put this down. So for this I would use golden because it's kind of like it's a semi-gloss, but it's a little thicker than like a regular glue or something like that. And let's get I'm just going to use a shaper. I got these two new shapers in. So let's just add. Let's see. You really want to glue these down good, of course, when you put paint over top of these. Anything that you're gluing down. The paint also helps adhere. So I'm going to add some of this over top. I could have made this a smaller piece. But it's going to be covered with some additional paint. I may let some pop through at this point. I haven't decided that point yet. But I think I may take this piece here and glue that down. It's a wood sorrel. So let's let that dry. And I wanted to show you another piece. This is a painting that I did, and of course the screenshot here will be hard to see. I'll put it in a bigger shot and then I'll do like a room shot because this turned out to be beautiful. But you can see the piece there, and I completely covered it with the same coloring, and then I outlined it, and some of that got covered up. And the same thing over here. But this piece turned out, it also has in it some cheesecloth. And that looks like, let me grab a piece. I have a big thing of cheesecloth, and I just rip off pieces, and that's in here. So this piece turned out really, it almost looks like just an old wall or something. And then I did these, and I could have made these less like visible, but I liked it. I like the contrast. So I've been working on that, and I may put some cheesecloth in this piece. I might do that so I can show you how I do it. We'll get some scissors. So here's a smaller piece. So maybe I'll have it go across the bottom, even though I have this word here. I can always put it back in. I'm going to use the bigger shaper. And this dries really hard, but it turns out beautiful. But it really, and you can, when you mush it down, put some edge to it, curl it, have bubbles in it, give it some texture and body. Because it's so thin, it just, and you can even shred, like, let me see if I can get some shredding going on here. There's some shredding there. And I can even add another piece on top of this. And if I need to go back in and add more glue, I can always do that. So I'm just making the edge, make this edge more pronounced. Really give that some body. So let's see where that takes me. So let's let that dry, but that's just a great big piece of cheesecloth. So another piece I wanted to show you, and I think what I'll do is I'll film it with my iPhone and insert it here because it's a bigger piece. So it'll take me a couple seconds. It'll take you just a second, and I'll show you the other piece I'm working on. Okay, here's the other piece, and I called this like the scientist's notebook or notepad. And this is an awful like the painting that I recently sold. In fact, this afternoon she's picking it up. And it's my messy homework, and it's a 42 by 60. This is a 30 by 40. And, you know, I've showed you before this technique of spraying the canvas and then using the blue shop towel. So this entire canvas was basically done by layers and layers of the paint and then rubbing the shop towel, rolling it around on the canvas. And that's what gives it the different look. It's a very kind of like a muted, toned down look. And then, of course, I put some graphite, and then I did different, you know, I spray painted the different stencils, different sizes of stencils on here. Even, you know, a real fun one. But I did that, but that turned out really beautiful. And this is a style that seems to be popular. I've done like 3 or 4 like this. And the trick on this one is the way that you do the shop towel to get that very muted looking type of a paint finish. And here's another painting, and I'm not sure I'm done with it yet. There's something in, a lot of people say, how do you know when a painting is done? For me, it's something in the gut that tells me when it's done. In our membership group, I'm going to have a series of elements of art and what makes a painting and the things, everything that I've learned. And when I look at this one, I do see that this would go in a room with pink, but there's something additional. It may be an additional mark that is me. I probably would not put the wooden circles, that piece I showed you in the beginning, I probably would not put that in here. This is a more delicate piece. I probably would not put the cheesecloth, but there's something else in here that I want to add, and it's going to come to me. It may be some more white. A lot of times what I do is I take a palette knife with some white paint and add that as a final, and maybe cover it with just a little bit, or I could tint the white paint with just a little bit of the light pink. But the painting wants the pink as opposed to adding more of the dark. But there's a lot going on here, and it's to me, it's beautiful. I would hang this in a room myself just as it is. But there's that something. And maybe it's to add more of this type of a texture. Maybe I'm thinking I need to have a swatch of the white paint tinted lightly pale pink with some of that texture on it. So that's just what's going through my mind. So I thought if I was going to tell you what I was going to do with that painting, maybe sort of diving right into the mixed media papers that may or may not get into this video, I thought I'm using some Tri-Art white because I have a whole bunch I ordered, and some golden light magenta, because if I were to add to that spot, I'd want to make it much lighter, not white. So let me find my utensil. All right, let's add some white. And yes, I'm dipping right into, I don't recommend that for you, but I do it. But this, it's not going to be white, so it's got a little bit of the light pink, and I think I want a little more. You can't be afraid to try things on a painting. I like the painting as it is. That's where a lot of people, this is where a lot of people get afraid. They don't want to ruin a painting, so they don't want to take that next step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the painting over here, even though it's big, and I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to put this paint on a palette knife, and I'm going to drag the paint with my idea. If you hear my voices in different places, it's because I'm actually walking around my studio so I can grab these things. So here's the painting. You're not going to see all of it, but I just showed it to you. So my idea is to take some of this white and put it on this palette knife. I like, this is one of the marks that I make a lot, is with a palette knife. So I'm going with something I do a lot. Okay. So I'm going to take this and They'll dry darker. I may have to go over it because this is got very, this is a lot pinker. Okay. If I don't like this when I'm done, it's absolutely okay. My point is, don't be afraid to try something. So I'm going to let that dry and just see where that takes me. Again, I had the painting on the other side of the room when I made this. I may need to make this a little more of a blend because it was done, this painting was done like a month or so ago, just sitting there for a final mark. And this color is almost too pinky for this. It needs a little bit more of the magenta or the purple. But I'm going to let it dry. If I can quit marking in it. What I'm doing is I see that. So I'm finishing up some of my, I had the word emotions, which I put in a lot of my art. And so I'm finishing that mark through here. Okay? Don't be afraid to try new things. So I'm going to let this dry. We'll see where it takes us. I may or may not like what I did. But the point is, don't be afraid to try something. Okay, so now I'm running out of some papers. So I'm going to be making some papers, and I have a piece of, it's almost like a large deli sheet down. So I can pull this up. If it's on my glass and it gets wet, it sticks. This I can pull up. So I have a bunch of tools here. One of the looks I really like is this, and I have these all in a pile here. Here's my deli paper. I love this mark right here. So I got different sizes of Filberts to try that. I love this. So I think I'm going to get some, I think I'm going to put it on here. So I'm going to start with that. And that's just some splatters. So I'm going to use another one of these food trays. This is the look I want. I'm going to get a big mop brush. I'll put some black high flow. In here. Get my mop brush wet. I mean, we're talking about wet. Whoa! Wow, that went far. I think it was a little aggressive. I'm telling you, that went far. Okay. But that's a beautiful mark. But it went all over my deli paper and it went far. So let's pull this off to the side. So I wanted to show you an example of a painting where I used a piece of this mixed media paper where I've done that splatter technique. And I did 3 splatters, and the painting is kind of like a gray tone background. There's a lot of like rectangular straight line marks on the painting. Even some of the quiet areas of the painting, there's some straight lines. And then all of a sudden you see these splatter, very organic, on a bright white paper, and you can even see the lines of where I've ripped the paper. And just that difference between the two causes the painting to have, in my opinion, incredible interest. And then added to a room like this where there's still a lot of lines that are in the bookcase and in the rug and even in the handle of the door, this painting just adds, with those splatter marks, an incredible interest with something so simple as using a mop brush and splatting your paint down on a piece of paper. I have a lot of cleanup to do over there. I have in my bio that I'm a messy painter, so I am. So I'm going to take some Filberts. These are Filberts. It's a flat, but it's rounded at the top. I have a bunch of different sizes. So I'm going to use that same black paint, and I'm just going to make these marks. And this is on deli paper. It looks really nice on watercolor paper too. That was going the opposite way. Okay, let me do a different size. Let me get wet. Wonder if that splattered the camera. I'll be able to tell when I play this back, because I really splattered. Okay, and this is even a tinier Filbert. And these are all pieces that I can put in. I put it in landscapes. I don't put it in all my art, but it's nice to have these to throw in a piece of art when I get stuck. So this is nice. This is where I can pick it up, and I will just lay this on top of books I have that I don't mind if it bleeds through. So here's another example of, I had this painting, and it's like a small 12 by 12, and it was missing something, and I really needed to hone in on some of my marks that I like. So I had the painting, it's a black and white tonal, and I have my marks through it. And by just adding these marks with like a Filbert brush, very wet mark with like a black drippy paint, not drippy so it drips down the paper, but a loose paint, and then actually having the 4 marks and then the 2 separate ones, and you see one on the left, it goes off the canvas. Those additional marks just gave it enough to add enough interest. And the way I tore the paper on this, and the grayish background, the white gave it more of a pop. And then I continued some of the lines through, and you've seen me do this before, where after I added the collage paper, I extenuate the lines from the painting with like a pencil through the paper I just added. So it's not like just plopped on top. So it just added this extra interest to the painting, and it's exactly what it needed to finish the painting. So I hope you see the value in doing some of these marking papers, because they really do come in handy when you're looking for that extra touch that just finishes off a small painting, large painting. Just it fits into many areas. Now let's do another. Since I've completely splattered this, I'm going to take some more of the black high flow, and now I'm just playing. So I am going to take, I've got a straw, I've got some compressed canned air, and I'm going to just take some paint and drip it and use some. Oh, that's beautiful. And this would look pretty on, you know, I've seen people do alcohol inks where they've used this to make flowers. Okay, so the last of this page, I'm going to take and I'm going to splatter. You could use a toothbrush to do this. Now this is a smaller brush, so let me grab a larger filbert. There's some larger splatters. Now let me try. Let's see how much left. I have some black paint. I'm just going to spill some out on here. I'm going to take the straw. I don't like to do a lot of this because I get dizzy. But so I've just made some blobs here. Let me just finish this off with some air. So I can see this being used in a painting somewhere. So it's really bleeding through, so you can see it down there, but I'm going to let this dry. Let me show you some more. Let me put some deli paper down to cover. I want to show you some other marks. This is a very interesting, this is just on a Xerox paper, and this is more of a thicker deli paper that is waxed. There's deli paper that is unwaxed, and it's harder to find. I like working with it better. Then there's deli paper that is waxed, and then you can get parchment paper. In fact, this may be parchment paper by the way it feels. And this has just got a lot going on. Of course, this is a face, but if you like that look, there's many ways that you could probably get that to look that way. So let me get some more paint, and let me get it very drippy. Here's a fountain pen tip nib. And this is wax, so it's kind of soaking in with the wax. It'd probably do better unwaxed. So let me think. How about if I did here's just a archival pen, Micron 08. If I want to try to get that look. This is the waxed paper. So it's kind of repelling off the wax. Let me try this. This is a piece of maybe drawing paper painted with some paint. That's better. It needed a surface to grab onto. You have to get smaller and a little bit more wild. And what I'm looking for is it to be different. Not just the same. I don't want to use the same tool. So these are the kinds of things, like in between my waiting for my painting over there to dry. I'm doing, I'm grabbing some papers and I'm just playing with papers. This is the micron. It's a very fine tip. Okay, let's see. What else can I grab? It's very, very fine. Here is a Faber-Castell pit pen. That's even better. I'm using it at the very tip of the, holding it at the very tip, very light. Then I'm pressing a little harder. I think that's my favorite. This is for this mark. It's the pit pen. So I like that. I can see that, a swatch of that in a painting. When you get stuck on something and you want an unusual look, that would really be pretty. So the other thing is using just writing. Let me put this down on top of here. I have some light writing, but this is a semi-grading. So it's not writing that anybody can really read, but look how beautiful that looks, even backwards. But I can see that put in a painting. Let's see what else we have. Here's another. Here's a piece of black. This is just a plain white, probably paper out of the copy machine. This is black gesso, and I'm going to use a Signo Uniball gel pen. Look how beautiful that is. You can have signature marks. I like the infinity mark. Hash marks. Okay, that's with a Signo marker. Then here's a Posca pen, which is not open. So let me find here's a Sharpie. Sometimes those Sharpies get dried out. You have to work with the Sharpies. There it goes. There's some dots. There's some fun marks. Let's see, what else do I have? Here is a white charcoal pen. It gives a duller look. You have to keep that pretty sharp. Each one of these are going to do something different on your paper. Here's a silver like gel pen. It's been open, so kind of dried out. That one didn't work. I keep a whole bucket of stuff. And then I wanted to show you, we'll let that dry. I wanted to show you these, and I'm going to put the link below. I got these on Etsy, and I had someone come over this weekend and really like them, but the holes, there's different size holes, and I have this just sitting beside me. I have 3 of these, and they're wooden, and they came pretty fast, but they're beautiful. This has got like some marks in it, and that's what I wanted. I wanted a really rough looking piece of wood And it has all these holes. Let me take the brushes out so you can see the holes. But I have 3 of these. But I wanted to share this with you because it's so pretty. But I keep the thick one for a thicker type of a brush. So I'm going to end this video with this pink painting. And is it done? As I said in the beginning of the video, I'm not sure. It's got a lot of marks in here that are definitely mine. I did paint over that pink spot, but in there left a lot of texture. And I took that same, what I ended up adding was some violet. And that was what was missing. And made some more marks that are more mine. Added a little bit of the complementary of the violet, which is yellow. And that's the word that I like. So at this particular point, I'm going to let it sit and see if in a day, if I'm happy with it. But thanks again for joining me and watching this video and just going through some of the paintings with me. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's become a part of your week to join me on my YouTube channel. Please give it a thumbs up. That helps the algorithm. I'm still considerably a small channel. I'm growing. And you can help me out by making sure you do a thumbs up. And there's still a good bit that haven't joined. It's okay if you don't subscribe, but it'd be nice if you do. I'd love that. Take care and have a great painting week.